Dr. Ismaila Cisse, a political science lecturer at the University of the Gambia, about the recent United Democratic Congress Party in the West Coast region and other issues as well. And I will also be talking to Almame Fandintal, the spokesperson for the United Democratic Party, about the story published by The Standard that the 2016 coalition is meant to kill the United Democratic Party. And we'll also be bringing a statement or speech delivered by Halifa Sallah recently at the cross-continental event, which was held at Hyperlink along the Battle Harden Highway. I will start with The Standard, and the story is 2016 coalition meant to kill United Democratic Party. That is, the spokesperson of the United Democratic Party, Almame Fandintal, has claimed that the formation of the coalition in 2016 was a well-calculated political plan to kill the United Democratic Party. He said, and I quote, "For me, I believe those who were responsible for forming the coalition intended to kill the UDP by reducing its powers, because since and after the presidential election, we have observed that the party has shown in very clear terms that it is the biggest party in the country right now," said Tal in an interview with journalists on the sideline of the United Democratic Party's regional congress in Brikama last Saturday. He went on, and I quote, "I think if you are forming a coalition, you should look at the party which has the biggest number to lead and the rest to follow. And if the coalition was a political lead coalition, President Barrow would not have felt otherwise today. And I believe the question journalists and Gambians in general should ask these people is, why did they force President Barrow to resign from the United Democratic Party?" I will be discussing that with Dr. Cisse, and I will see whether Barrow was forced to resign or it was a requirement or legal requirement, or the constitution said he should resign from the UDP to run for the coalition to be the flag bearer of the coalition 2016. And the UDP elects a chairperson in the North Bank region and the West Coast region, and that is the United Democratic Party has shown complete regional elective congress in West Coast region and North Bank region ahead of the National Congress in December. In the West Coast region, where initially attempts to hold the Congress were disrupted by a splinter group, delegates and converged again on Saturday and re-elected Yusuf Cham as the chairman. Mr. Cham described his re-election as a proof of his loyalty to the party after rumors that he is in the imagined camp of President Adama Barrow. And a dialogue pulled Gambia from the brink of war, and that is the Secretary General of the PDOIS and the National Assembly member for Serekunda has emphasized the need for national dialogue to shape the future of Gambia's political and social economic transformation. Halifa Sallah made these remarks while delivering his keynote address on the importance of national dialogue during the International Republican Institute and National Conference at the Ozone Bay in Bakau. And Mayor Bensouda receives Man of the Year award. That is the Mayor of Kanifing Municipal Council, Talib Bensouda, has been awarded by the People's Choice Media Company Man of the Year award in recognition of his significant impact in the country. The preamble from the group said Mayor Bensouda made a name for himself in the last mayoral election after winning the hotly contested election under the ticket of the United Democratic Party. In receiving the award, Mayor Bensouda said this is the first award he received since 1996, adding that it means a lot to him. He dedicated the award to all Gambians who are promised to see a progressive Gambia. And we'll check on the Point newspaper, and the Point also is reporting that the Sarahule government urges Sarahules to invest in basic goods and industries. That is, His Excellency President Adama Barrow has urged wealthy among the Sarahules community in the country, in the Gambia, to venture into importation and supply of basic commodities rather than leaving the trade to non-Gambians. The president said there was a point in the Gambia when Gambians dominated the trade in basic goods and prices were not at the biting on the ordinary consumers. It is as it is on today. And he recalled names like Alhaji Modu Musanjai and Sons, Alhaji Taibu Tunkara and Alhaji Mari Tambedu, and Alhaji Taibu, all of them which are deceased, are that they were leading Sarahule businessmen who invested their wealth for the greater national good. And Barrow, as I said, and I quote, as third president of independent Gambia, I do not need to translate to communicate with you. You are hardworking, wealthy, God-fearing people. Basic goods used to be imported by Gambians, and today trade is taken over by non-Gambians, he told the gathering at the State House over the weekend. And the point also is reporting that the UDP elects Yusuf Cham as West Coast Region Chairperson, and generals that is of the Gambia Armed Forces and the Senegal, and will further strengthen the agenda of the two countries. That is Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces and the Senegal have renewed their commitment towards Senegambia integration and further of the bond of the friendship shared by the respective Commander-in-Chiefs, General Sheikh Gueye of Senegal and the Deputy Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Yakub Drame, made this proclamation to President Adama Barrow at State House on Friday. Such a strong bond and brotherhood form basis of friendship between the armies of Senegal and the Gambia Armed Forces, General Gueye said. And on the Foroya newspaper, Foroya also is reporting that bushfire devour groundnut farms, that is on Wednesday, bushfires in Wulli West District has shattered and dashed the high bumper harvest hopes for Fofana Kuna family in Wulli Sotokoba, in the fire which has not only caused damage to the forest cover but also consumed 11-hectare groundnut farm on the side of the family. And speaking to the medium, that is the Foroya, the breadwinner of the Fofana Kuna family, narrated that the incident occurred on Wednesday, 14th November 2018 at 1500 GMT. And TRRC requests urgent medical board for victims, and that is in acting in accordance with Section 15(1)(a) and 4 of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission Act 2017. The TRRC has delivered an urgent request to the Minister of Health and Social Welfare to set up a medical board to review the cases of victims of the past regime who suffered bodily harms and need urgent medical attention. And that is the story on the Foroya newspaper. And on the point, and they also, that is the Voice newspaper, and that the system is not changing. The Govi chair, that is the chairperson of Gambia Organization for Visually Impaired, has vehemently argued that the system has not changed in the country, accusing the government of arresting disabled Gambians over begging. Honorable Nde Seka said the remarks at the launch of the Commonwealth Partnership for Democratic Project, saying that what was happening before is the same thing happening now. And that's all we have for you on the papers, and we'll move into a story by the Secretary General of the People Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, Halifa Sallah, who is also the National Assembly member for Serekunda, was a guest at the Cross-Cutting Continental event, which was held over the weekend at Hyperlink. And Honorable Sallah delivered a statement, and let's take a listen to the Secretary General of the PDOIS and the National Assembly member for Serekunda.
To sit down and ask ourselves, where are we? After 6 decades of national liberation and independence, still Africans are saying, let us ally with the Chinese, let us ally with the Europeans, let us ally with this so that they can help us. They can help us, help us. When the Chinese were dominated by the Japanese and became liberated only around 1949, now we claim that China is a major world power. Africa, with its diamonds, with its oil, with its copper, with its chrome, uranium, 70% of world cocoa, but we get chocolate from Belgium, from Germany, from America. Look at the mighty ocean in the Gambia. Young people travel on it in search of greener pastures. So what constitutes the greener pasture? It is to go and work on a tomato farm in Italy. Tomatoes can be produced here, but why is it that they do not derive the same value as tomato in Italy? To warrant that you go and work on a tomato farm in Italy so that you can have more foreign exchange to send back home to feed your dying parents and dying brothers and sisters. What is wrong with us? I cannot speak forever. I'm limited by time, and we'll continue to this engagement that this search has started. And the answers are there. We have the resources. Europe collapsed in the Second World War, completely devastated. When America wanted to assist through the Marshall Plan, they told Europe, go and develop a European development plan, a European recovery plan. Otherwise, we will not assist you. They went and developed a European recovery plan to be able to have food self-sufficiency in Europe, to be able to have energy sufficiency, to be able to have production taking place in industrialization, to generate employment. What are we waiting for? Why haven't our leaders sat down to develop a continental recovery program and see how they can combine to ensure that we have an African Investment Bank, African Central Bank, enhanced inter-African trade, World Bank starting with 11 billion, and African dictators sending 11 billion to the Swiss banks. We continue to beg when we have all the resources in the world to develop. Citizenship is the basis of nationhood. The African nation needs to arise. It needs to host her citizens. In all African constitutions, any African should be a citizen if he or she desires of any African state. That should have been the starting point. At home or abroad, Africans could become citizens of any state and facilitate the development of the continent. And I hope, as we meet here to articulate the future of the continent, we will start with the people united. Because the people united, no head of state can refuse their demand. Power concedes to no one without a demand. Now the African people must demand that Africa belongs to them. Thank you very much.
That was Halifa Sallah there, the Secretary General of the PDOIS, who is also the National Assembly member for Serekunda. Now I will turn to the spokesperson for the United Democratic Party, that is Almami Fandin Tal. He's on the line now. Hello, Mr. Tal.
Hello, Marwali.
Thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you for having me on.
In reference to the story published by the Standard today, headline 2016 coalition meant to kill the United Democratic Party. Are these your words, and why did you say so? If these are your words?
No, these are not my words. I spoke in an interview in Wolof and in English a couple of days ago, and the record is there clearly. What I said was that in Wolof is, I said Nasahal. Nasahal is to weaken.
To weaken, okay.
I said the process was meant to weaken UDP because Even after having a clear winner, it was a requirement that the winner should resign from his party. And as a result of that, there has been a lot of discussions and misspeaking and all of that.
Okay. Now, the second...
This is definitely not my words. I did
Okay.
not use this word.
Okay, maybe you are misquoted with the headline, but how about this one? Another quote. If the coalition was a party-led coalition, President Barrow would not have feel otherwise. Are you telling me you are misquoted in that one too?
I'm not misquoted in that one. It's just that it wasn't characterized properly, because like I said, the interview was in Wolof. I'm
okay.
just saying that people are saying that there is a lot of noise coming from the side of the president.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that if at all the coalition did not require the president, who everyone knows is a matter of public record, he was a member of the UDP. He was the UDP flag bearer, but it is the coalition process that required him to resign. So for me, I'm questioning the reason why was that a requirement? Why was it necessary to have somebody who has clearly won the primaries at that level to resign from their party and become an independent? It's like you ask Omar Wali, as the head of the Kabilo, to come and participate in the village leadership, and once he got the village leadership, you tell him that he is no longer going to be part of his Kabilo. I mean, that is putting the person in a very difficult position.
Okay, so if I get you right, what you said was like, what was the requirement? Not like Standard said, and let me just quote this thing here. I believe, and journalists and Gambians in general should ask these people, is why did they force President Barrow to resign from the UDP? So what you are trying to, what I understand from what you said was, the requirements, not why he was forced from the United Democratic Party.
Indeed.
Okay. Another question has said, you said people bring in troubles to UDP, and you will decide their fate on Wednesday. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, the party has structures. It has rules and regulations, and we expect certain conducts. And our leader has spoken severally that intemperance, intolerance, and statements that are divisive or are meant to sow discord within the party, within the country, are not statements that we can accept from anybody who calls himself a genuine member of the UDP. So we have to draw a line in the sand and distinguish those people who are saying that I am a member of the UDP and therefore whatever I say has the coloration of UDP. I mean, the journalists as well as the public must be very clear about that. I can claim to be anything and then, in the name of that thing, misbehave or say things that are not true to the values of our party.
Now, what are you going to do? Is it like what ANC did in South Africa to expel Julius Malema from ANC, or you are going to expel them, or what actions are you going to take against those people?
No, we are going to use due process and analyze their conduct vis-a-vis the rules and the values of our party. And the party, it would be a decision of the executive again. I'm not going to be here preempting whatever measures we are going to agree on. Again, like I have been saying everywhere, we are a very democratic party. We subject ourselves to the rigors of the rule of law within the party, within the laws of the country. Because even if at all you are a voluntary association, you must have rules a priori before anything else, so that you can tell the person, look, this is what you have infringed upon, and this is not in keeping with our values, and therefore we are not in a position to continue to relate with you unless and until certain measures are put in place. But I cannot say definitively what will happen, whether it will be like what happened to Julius Malema or
let's talk about that South African example, because if these people are UDP, I suppose, and I think they should listen to Dabo when Dabo said something, but why is it that people are not listening to your leadership, these UDP supporters or the militants, whatever you call it? Let's put it that the UDP, why are they not listening to the leadership?
Well, Omar, clearly I cannot question, but I'm telling you that from the UDP leadership, there is a clear line. If you call me and ask me about any position of the UDP, I can speak clearly to that.
Yeah,
anybody who is saying otherwise should be the one asked that. But this is what your leadership is saying.
Yeah, but like, when there was Mandela's burial, when Jacob Zuma took up the podium, the South African, they started to boo him, but it was Cyril Ramaphosa who came and said, please respect Mandela, and let's respect the dead. And they listened to Ramaphosa than Zuma. So just to come home, just to clear this thing. So if Dabo said, don't do this, why are people stubborn, or why are they insisting to go ahead with that? That's what I don't understand. And I want you to provide answer for. You cannot say don't have answer for that question.
No, Omar, what I'm saying is that you have been very outstanding as a journalist. You have been persistent. You have asked the right questions. The thing is about training. Some of us have not had the party discipline. We have not had the personal discipline to be measured or to be restrained. We are trying to get applause, and we are trying to play to a certain gallery. And these are individual traits that you cannot respond to. Your example is very clear. But who is Cyril Ramaphosa now? Cyril Ramaphosa was the one who negotiated the end of apartheid. He was even named as one of the heirs of Mandela. But things change. What I'm saying is that individuals are going to play the game that they know how, that they were trained for. Some of these people don't have any training whatsoever. So really, whether they listen to the party leader or party leadership, it's not for me. Why are they not listening to them? That's what I'm saying. I cannot answer that question.
Okay, you cannot answer. But
because
if
there
there
are people who don't listen.
Okay, carry on.
Yes. Now, if you don't listen, we are going to use all the tools in our arsenal to deal with the situation. Because the party cannot continue going on having this white noise that is unproductive, is sterile, is just meant to distract people from the focus. And I have said this many times. The focus is to build an inclusive and a prosperous democratic society. Everywhere you go, people have a right to say what they believe. But we are saying that as a UDP, our identity should be clear, it should be unmistakable, that we represent some of the highest values in this country. It is members of the UDP who had been killed, who had been thrown into prison alongside other Gambians so that this country can be a better country. Now, if you have charlatans going around and saying all kinds of things, how can we respond to that other than going back to our basic principles and our rules?
Now,
we have rules, and we want to be a rule-based party.
Now, if they don't listen to that, who do you think they will listen to? Because like in ANC, as I know, when Malema was troubled, it was the former Secretary General Guademontaz who will pull his ears and said, don't do this, don't do it, and he will listen to that part. So in the event that they did not listen to that, who else do you think is in the party that if that person speaks, they will listen to?
This is not a negotiation, Omar. And quite frankly, if you don't listen to the party,
yeah,
the laws of the party will come after you, and you will be put to order. It's not like we have to be nice to whoever these persons are. They know themselves. We know them also. It's just not worth our time and our while to be engaged by reputable journalists like yourself on these issues on and on and on. For me, I have said this absolutely clearly. We are at a place in time in our history where people without any experience, without any credentials, are posing as the leaders and the moral guides of our country. Or people with very bogus credentials or record that they have done absolutely nothing for this country, and they come around and claim to be the ones who know how to develop this country. So really, I mean, for me, I want the focus to remain on what are the ideals of UDP, what is the sacrifice that has built this party for the last 22 years, and how that leadership is now urging all Gambians to be respectful of the law, to be respectful of the rightfully constituted authority, and to work diligently on a daily basis to move this country forward.
Finally, you also said, I don't know whether you are misquoted there or not, or so, but they say, and I quote, there are people who claim to be UDP members, and they are still bringing problems here. And like we talk about that, but some people said when they ask you about Dusan, you said it's an ordinary member. But some people also said you are UDP 2017, February 2017, and you claim to be UDP all along when you just joined like a few months ago. Were you an all-time UDP or you are UDP 2017?
My formal association with the party, I said it is that was my appointment as UDP spokesman. This was in February 2017.
Okay.
But my formal association with the party goes back to the 90s when I came back as a lawyer, and Hussein Odabo was one of the most highly regarded Gambian legal practitioners. I have had a lot of occasion to observe him as a professional. Okay. And when I was interviewed as a spokesperson, this is what I said, the reasons why I find the UDP as the best home for me politically.
Mr. Tal, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Omar Wali.
That's the Almame Fandin Tal, the spokesperson for the United Democratic Party there. And I'm here with Dr. Ismail Assise. Doctor, welcome.
Thank you.
I understand yesterday was your birthday.
Yes.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, let's talk about this UDP thing. The Congress, it was initially last week and it was postponed. And what do you make of all these things?
Well, yes, the regional congress.
The regional congress in West Coast region. And
I think yesterday they had the one in West Coast and then they had one in North Bank as well.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like any other Gambian, we're observing things as they unfold. I mean, these things happen in parties, in political parties, especially political parties that the UDP is not a new party. It's been here for over 20 years. They have a strong base, well-structured party. Therefore, the stakes are high within the party. Therefore, obviously, there are bound to be leadership tussles within the party. And these are the things we are seeing. So,
and when you listen to some people, they said you can hear the vocabulary is like belligerent. Some are saying that they have been unfairly treated. What do you think? Do you think there is kind of a power struggle, or some people feel they have been neglected or unfairly treated? What do you think about that?
Yes, it's been belligerent. To some extent, it's borders on, I think it's posing a kind of a security risk. Because when I saw the images from Brikama, and I saw that we had to use the paramilitary come out to go and restrain some of a particular faction from entering the premises of where the Congress was taking place, it shows that it's something that we should really pay attention to, that it can lead to something else. And I heard a particular video, and this guy was saying that if the Congress is like this, the regional Congress is therefore lives may be lost in. That's what he said. Yeah. That they are ready even to elect their own executive, to go and challenge the executive that was elected yesterday. So meaning that we have to brace ourselves for worse things to come.
But this is going to only be in UDP or in other parties?
You see, the thing, Omar, is that if this was another party that is not in government, I'm not saying UDP is in government, but it has clearly to do with President Barrow, obviously. And President Barrow, we should understand, he was elected as a coalition candidate to oversee a transition, to do reforms, to build democratic institutions. Therefore, Gambia has more to lose in this tussle because the time and the energy that the government should be spending to really reform this country, to move this country ahead, it's been spent on petty politics. That's what we are seeing. And obviously, the splinter group, everybody knows. This is no secret anymore, although UDP might not come officially to accept that this is the case. But the struggle is between Barrow on one hand, and then obviously Honorable Lawyer Dabo on the other hand. And I think for me, it has to do with who really controls the party. Because obviously, like I said, the party, because of its nature, the stakes are high. But then we have to understand that President Barrow is no more a member of the United Democratic Party. Officially, he had resigned from the party. And now he's a coalition president. So I don't think he has any say again as far as UDP as a party is concerned or its internal democratic processes.
Now, what do you think are the dangers or the consequences in the event that Barrow decides to go on his own? What do you think will happen to UDP?
No, I mean, obviously, Barrow as a Gambian has a right to form his own political party. I think, for me, I think he should be courageous enough to do that, rather than, trying to cling on to something that he has no say over anymore. Because he has resigned from the party. He's no more a member of the United Democratic Party. And I think for him, if he has ambitions, intentions to run again, I think the easier thing is for him to go and form his party. Nobody's going to stop him from doing that. Than, trying to create tensions and here and there. And now Gambia is losing, because what we are seeing is that attention is not paid in nation building. It is paid on, they are paying too much attention in politics. Or partisan politics, rather than focusing on what he was appointed or elected to do.
We have somebody on the line, but before we turn to the father, you said you talk about intentions and to run. Do you also have the same intentions, like the same intentions you have? So now, it's like, Barrow have the same intention like you have. So,
I'm not.
Okay. Now. So why is it that some people find it so hard when they feel that Barrow wants to go on his own, but they don't want to accept that? Why?
But who is not accepting it?
So many people are like, no, he belongs to her, he cannot go on this because he's going to bring kind of.
But the thing is, we have to look at the broader picture. That President Barrow was elected in 2016 as a coalition independent candidate to come and do a particular work. For me, I think for him to do justice to the Gambia and to the Gambian people, he should focus on doing that work. I don't know if you understand my point.
I understand.
Because what will happen is that once he deviates from focusing on that work, Gambia is losing.
So, which means he's putting more effort on consolidating power than working.
But that's very clear. I mean, for me, I think that is the sad part of it.
Okay.
I think for me, my advice would be to President Barrow is that obviously politics will come. The partisan politics will come. But for now, I think he should focus more on doing the work that he's been elected to do.
Okay, let's take somebody on the line now. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, Coach. Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning from your end there. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Happy birthday to my friend.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure you are following the conversation with the interview we had, the story published by The Standard, and Al-Mametal said he was kind of misquoted, and had an interview with him. I'm sure you are following the conversation.
Yes, I'm following it, and I was surprised when I read that headline this morning. And I think even his explanation again is still inaccurate, because I don't believe that the coalition 2016 was meant to weaken any political party.
Okay.
It was a strategic necessity to have the parties come together so that they would have their objective, which was to remove Yahya Jammeh, and that objective was met. I don't believe that there is anybody in the coalition, as we stand now, who is doing anything to weaken the UDP or trying to destabilize the UDP or trying to bring problems within the UDP, except maybe let him point where that problem is coming from. It's coming directly from President Adama Barrow, because I believe that Adama Barrow's desire to fulfill his personal ambition is what is giving everybody this problem. This is why he has now pretty much forgotten the coalition agenda and focused on his personal agenda.
So, as far as we know, you mean Al-Mametal is kind of window dressing about what is happening. Instead, this party's problem is trying to put that blame, the problem within the UDP, is trying to put that one on coalition leaders.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not. Because look at the coalition. Who is there now? Adama Barrow had used his constitutional powers and fired O.J. Jallow. He has fired Mai Fati. Doi is not in that cabinet. Who is he talking to? The former chairperson of the coalition co-chair was fired. So who is there? So this is Adama Barrow doing his thing. And I believe that if there is one thing, Omar, is that Mr. Barrow, the president, must be very honest with the UDP folks. If he wants to form a political party, let him say so. And what they say, the wrangling that is happening, whether Adama Barrow had resigned from the UDP or not, would have been immaterial, because if he was still within the UDP, that would have been a bigger internal UDP problem, because now the UDP folks can easily say, you know what, hey, Adama Barrow has resigned from the UDP, so he's not a member of the UDP. Imagine if he was still a member of the UDP and tried to pull this thing off. Yeah. If there is anything that has been proven, Omar, is that everything that people feared in a coalition is what Adama Barrow is proving today. That is putting somebody at the helm, and that person, tries to pretty much run away with that victory at the expense of everybody else. And I want to correct one thing.
Yeah.
That is, Al-Mamital had said that after Adama Barrow won, he was forced to resign. That is inaccurate.
He resigned before.
There was an agreement prior to Adama Barrow winning the convention that whosoever won the convention was going to resign. Adama Barrow signed on it. Halifa Sallah did. Amarba did. Henry, all those that ran did. And then that was what happened. The problem is not anybody in the coalition. The problem is Adama Barrow and his desire to want to be president for as long as possible.
Okay, Coach, you stay online. Doctor want to add on.
Yes, let me second Coach on that. I mean, I have the same opinion. I think when I heard Al-Mamital say Barrow was forced to resign, I really disagreed with that. I mean, nobody forced UDP to, in fact, sign or even to be part of a coalition. They could have easily say, you know what, we don't agree with the terms and the conditions of the coalition, so we're backing out. Nobody was forcing them. So Barrow was not forced to resign. And also when it comes to the other issue about it, whether it killed or it weakened, for me, both, like Coach has said, for me, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as many Gambians are concerned, the coalition 2016 was set up for a purpose. That is to remove a dictator and then to put the country part of unprecedented development. Now, whether that succeeded or not, that is another debate. So I think, again, I think the problem goes deeper than that, to be honest.
Coach, let's talk about, okay, you want to add something before I ask the question? Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, another question has to do, whenever Barrow, you listen to his tone now, he'll be like, I sacrificed to face Jammeh and I did this and that. But forgetting that Ousainou Darboe contested 4 times with Barrow here. We have seen other Halifa Sallah and Sidi Jata, Muhammad Ba and all others challenge. And so what do you think is the rationale behind these things? Is that a fair comment towards other politicians in this country that I sacrificed to face Jammeh when others contested 4 times, when others contested, and we have seen the NAD, we have seen Muhammad Ba contesting, Halifa, is that a fair comment?
No, it's not, and it's a very insensitive comment. And the reason why I'm saying that is Adama Barrow must realize what brought him to power. If Adama Barrow is sitting today bragging that he sacrificed that why he's president today, what do you think Solo Sendeng's family should be feeling? What about Femi Peters? Yeah. What about Keme Seng Jammeh? What about Ousainou Darboe? What about Halifa Sallah? What about O.J. Jallow? What about Single Nyasi's family? Yeah. What about everybody who had done so much? Like, Barrow must understand that the victory that we achieved on the 1st of December, 2016, was a victory that was fought for 22 years. It did not happen overnight. People did not vote for Barrow because he was the most qualified. They did not vote for him because he was the most handsome. They did not vote for him because he was the most appealing. They voted for him because there was a coalition that was supported by everybody. And even if Pata was the candidate, they would have voted for him. But in addition to that, what I find absolutely disconcerting, Omar, everybody who knows me know I'm not UDP, never been UDP, and chances are in 2021, if that's when Barrow wants to have the next elections, I will be campaigning against the UDP. But I believe Ousainou Darboe deserves much more respect from his party than what I'm saying. Sometimes people make these wrong equations that what happened to the PPP was what happened to UDP, that Jawara was co-opted into leading Ousainou, was the same thing happened to Ousainou. But there are differences. Jawara was brought to lead a political party that was already established. That was the Protectorate People's Party. Yeah. Ousainou Darboe was giving an idea that he carried for 20 years, thus leading the UDP to where they are today. Because when Ousainou was brought in, he was here in the United States. with the Olympics team in 1996. That was when they approached him, that they wanted to form a political party and they wanted him to lead it. When he came, the party did not even have a name. They came and had a name, United Democratic Party. He led the party for that long and became the candidate, the first presidential candidate with the most votes against an incumbent in the history of our country. He sold his properties to finance the party. He lost his lucracious, whatever the word is, legal practice.
Yeah.
He became a victim, together with a whole host of other people, the CDS, Sanyaks of the world, and all these other people. So I believe, irrespective of what people might think, every political party would have its internal wranglings. But I believe Ousseynou Dabo deserves much more respect from those who call themselves UDP supporters than he is getting now. And I'm not saying this as a member of the UDP.
Yeah.
I've been accused of a lot of things I do not care, but I believe facts are facts and must always be spoken. I believe he deserves more than he's getting from some quarters of that party, just because there is an Adama Barrow who is now all of a sudden a president, and people are looking at how best that their bread could be buttered by this guy, that they are forgetting the struggles that were waged for 22 years for this party to be where it is today. To me, Omar, that is what I find very disheartening and very disquieting. And I hope people will realize that even if you oppose Ousseynou, that's your right. But let's just always remember when it was hard, very hard, who was there for that party. I'm not saying he should be the flag bearer. That's not my problem. That's UDP's internal problem. But I really cannot believe sometimes the amount of disrespect, not from his opponents, but from those who claim to be members of the UDP.
Like you said, we are not UDP, but we have seen the emergence of, how would I say, people going to politics in this country. People who do not even talk about politics as they want to join in the parties now, and they want to take a front seat. What do you make of this one as well? We have seen some people, we know people who are in the struggle, although nobody is stopping anybody to go into politics, but those who join are also saying that they should be given that front seat. What do you think about that?
No, you know, the party is a democratic party.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's supposed to be democratic, so you'll have these discussions going on. But what I'm saying here is, irrespective of what you feel your rights are, let's do it in a very respectful way. Because one thing that you cannot do is try to disrespect the people who held the fort when it was most difficult. Now, today is the easiest thing to be a UDP and to claim it, or many of these political parties. So when you are all of a sudden found in this era of free democracy where you can compete for things, what I'm saying is, let's give respect where respect is due. But I'm not telling anybody that don't oppose him or don't challenge him. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying he does not deserve some of the things that I hear sometimes from some people who claim to be UDP members.
Coach, let me ask you, do you also have plans to go in for politics in 2021?
Well, all my life has been politics, Oman.
No, I mean, when I say taking a leading role.
As at this moment,
yes,
I really do not have any plans to run for political office. But I can tell you that in 2021, I will be on the political train campaigning for a candidate of my choice. I'm going to get my hands dirty, and I'm going to campaign for a candidate that I believe would be able to take our country to where it ought to be.
Like we call it in Nigeria, the Kaduna boys. So you'll be part of the kingmakers to select a candidate.
I didn't hear that part because it's not
okay. You said you make your hands dirty. In the event that Dr. Cisse, what do you make of him vying for office come 2021?
No, you didn't expect Coach to answer that question.
No, I'm just asking. Coach has an opinion.
I love the good doctor. I love Dr. Cisse, and he knows this very well. And I'm very excited to see young people like Dr. Cisse, other people like Alma Mital, and all these young Gambian intellectuals who are throwing their hearts in our politics, because we cannot just sit and just leave it to other people to run it. So, like Dr. Cisse excites me a great deal. I know him to be a good man, and I have tremendous respect for him, not only for his intellect but his dignity. And I believe that he is on the right path, and I would encourage him to really consider running for office, because the Gambia needs his time to really move this country forward.
Coach, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Coach said he will consider you running for office.
Yes.
What is your response to that?
Well, I mean, I'm humbled. A man like Coach, having such confidence in me, then I think just say I'm humbled.
Now let's talk about this thing has been going around, this Barrow thing. Do you also observe like this, there is a Barrow camp and Dabo camp?
Of course, yes. I mean, every child born today knows that there are two camps. I mean, we've got information that some people calling themselves the Barrow Youth Movement are going around the country. In fact, the saddest part of it is that our development now has been channeled through the Barrow Youth Movement.
Yeah.
I've been having, in fact, today I was having reports on the ground that some people are going around in the provinces telling people that Barrow wants to bring development to your community, but it's going to be going through the youth movement. So you have to give your name and your details of this youth movement so that we can bring development to you. So why is government then? Where are the institutions and the agencies that are supposed to deliver this?
That's my question. Should that be the case? When somebody has been elected to serve and address the needs and aspirations, and that person is outsourcing that development plans or whatever for the country to another youth movement.
I think that's a travesty. We never bargained for this, and I think that should not happen in any serious polity. It shows that we are not taking the right as we speak. The country is not moving the right direction. I mean, if a youth movement should be given those powers with those resources to go around the country promising people development, then something is wrong with the way the country is governed.
So whose responsibility is it now to make sure that to put this man on the right foot and say this is not the responsibility of the youth for whatever you call it, Barrow Youth for National Development, but it is the government's responsibility?
I mean, I think in a normal democracy, there should be checks and balances, of course. We have the National Assembly that has a role to play, but we also have civil society, and we have political parties that must also put pressure on government. If they see that the government is not taking the right direction, I'm so disappointed that political parties have died in hibernation. Most of the political parties, except a few. We hear a few voices here who kind of put the government on track. But I think political parties have a role to play in this. Civil society has a role to play, because it seems like we are not being vigilant as we are supposed to be. The way things are going, it's not very encouraging, Wale.
So, Doctor, I think, should I leave you or we continue with the convention?
Well, it's up to you.
So, finally, what would be your final message?
Well, I mean, I just would advise the government to focus on what we elected them to do. The problems are many, intractable, and we have a lot of problems. If you go to the hospitals today, just take a walk, go to any clinic, any health center, any hospital, you'll be overwhelmed with the amount of suffering that's happening in these hospitals. Go to the schools. Yesterday I was in Jar. I went to one school. I couldn't believe that's a primary school in 21st century Gambia. I saw a police station on the way. I couldn't believe there's a police station is supposed to be like that in 21st century Gambia. We have serious problems in this country. We need serious thinking, serious work to solve these problems. And I think for me, the saddest part of it is when I see the presidency inviting elders and chiefs and community elders to come to State House to discuss what, when you should be spending that time trying to find solutions to the very many problems we have. It seems like now what we have seen, there's a standstill in so far as governance is concerned. I mean, right now what takes precedence is politics. And it seems like now the reason why we elected the president, the reason why we elected him, or the work that we assigned him to do, is taking a backseat, is a secondary thing now. So I think his priority now is to try to get re-elected in 2021, and that sacrificing the work that he's supposed to do at the altar of trying to entrench himself. And I think that's a sad part. And I think all Gambians should really try to be vigilant, and civil society must play a more active role. Political parties should also play a more active role. The National Assembly should also be vigilant, so that we don't create a situation that will force us to go through the same scenarios as that happened in 2016.
Thank you so much, Doctor. That is Dr. Ismail Assise there, a political science lecturer at the University of the Gambia. And earlier you had Coach Basamba Jau and Alma Metal, the spokesperson of the United Democratic Party. He also clarified that he was misquoted by the Standard newspaper about the headline 2016 coalition meant to kill the United Democratic Party. That's all we have for you today. From me and my team, we thank you all. Till tomorrow.